Good morning, Bucknutters. It is Cinco de Mayo, Tuesday, May the 5th. Hallelujah. I am Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and change. As you can see, I'm joined by Garrick Hodge, where he usually is, and Mark Porter, who is in the process of a gauntlet of stops over the course of the next month or so as showcase season, I guess you can call it, has kicked off in Ohio. This is a series of events hosted by high schools to get their college guys who want to play college football out on the field. And what you get is a ton of coaches in some spots there to check it out. This is also when you get a little competition on the recruiting trail. Mark was at Centerville High School yesterday and did a panoramic video shot, and you saw probably under 20 Division I schools represented, each keeping their proper distance. You can tell who's friends with who and who's recruiting against who. But he's been all over the state. Now, this does take on sort of a Where is Waldo deal for Mark, hence the title. And then Mark also sent us a picture of his Jeep from the side of the road at 10:30 last night when he blew a tire. So somehow he's back rolling now, made friends with, I got to see some highlights of a guy changing the tires with 18-wheelers going by in the middle of the night. Not necessarily the place you want to be. Mark, if you could tell us where you are, what you're doing. And like I say to everybody else, we are trying our best to do this right now. If this does not work, if that 18-wheeler tries to perform the turn technique on Mark, we're going to have to get off. But Mark, where are you and what are you doing?
I'm just going to pretend everybody's in the car with me. I hope the audio's okay and you can hear me just fine. But I am on my way to Coleraine High School. I am coming from Pickerington North, and I am hoping for another blowout. Sitting on the side of Route 70 and watch trucks go by at 80 miles an hour is quite frightening, I found out.
I thought the video was kind of scary.
Yep. So yesterday was a big day. I'll just go over a couple of the highlights because I'm going to bring video back and go into detail. But Jameer Weiss at Trotwood Madison.
So you were at Trotwood. Time out. So yesterday you started out at Trotwood.
No, I did not start out at Trotwood.
Okay.
I started out with Coach Ryan Day and his son RJ at St. Francis de Sales.
Interesting.
And I spent my morning in Columbus, and then I went over to Dayton about halfway through the day to see Springfield High School, Northmont High School, Centerville, Springboro, Fairmont. There was quite a bunch of them. I'm leaving out a few right now. But I figured for Bucknutters, Jameer Weiss would be a fillet we need to talk about. Boy, at Trotwood, he looks great. He got taller. He got leaner. His butt and legs look fantastic. He's got a little more of a first step in his pass rush. I really liked him. Over at Springfield, Kayvon Blackman, an offensive lineman, looked fantastic. Kai Graham, the quarterback at Wayne in 2028, looks great. This morning, there's been a lot of talk out of Pickerington North about Geo McKnight and his running mate over there. Can you see his name again? Marquise Ray. And watching those guys work out side by side, there was a reason 21 division colleges were there, or 21 Division I colleges. It was quite a morning already. And down here at Coleraine, I got a big day ahead of me. I'm going to see Lakota West, Lakota East, Princeton, Hamilton. So there's a lot of schools today with a lot of star power. And you tell you what, the video I'm getting of all these guys, the photos, we're going to be the leading edge, the leading cutting edge for recruiting over the next couple months.
Yep, got to see Ryan RJ Day throw it along a little bit. So Mark has sent Garrick and I the video, so Garrick and I are like fans for the day of. So we've seen it all. Very impressive. A little bit about Weiss. He looks to me like you said it. They had him doing a little bit of running. He's got a little bit more juice to him. I think they'll probably use him more on the defensive line this year, but that is what it looks like to see a future big-time player. I think he's only going into his junior season.
Yeah, so young. I mean, it's It's amazing. And talk about young guys. I watched an 8th grader get offered this morning, and I can't say I disagree. You know, usually I'm wholeheartedly against that stuff, but my man, this is going to be a name we're going to be talking about in a couple of years. It is a great time of the year for college coaches and shaking hands. And I tell you what, there's a lot of flags flying here. Ohio State, be ready for this new age of NIL because the Penn States, the Michigans of the world, they're here. You know, and Indiana has a newfound power. You know, when they're out on the trail, there's a newfound respect. It's like there's always these huddles, but all of a sudden the Indiana coaches are holding court, you know, where everybody's kind of listening to what they have to say. So it's a new environment. Haven't seen Buckeye coaches out here yet other than Coach Day yesterday. And I tell you what, RJ spun it as well as he has ever spun it. I've been watching him since 7th grade. He really looks good. And then Jordan Carhoff, the Ohio State offered tight end at St. Francis de Sales. He looked a lot like a receiver last year. He's growing into the tight end body. It looks like his hand being in the dirt and coming out of a 3-point is going to be more familiar. He's not going to be lined up outside as much.
I just want to clarify this to make sure I understood what you said. Are you saying that now that the NIL era has kicked in, you are seeing more big-time coaches on the road today than you would have seen in years past?
100%. More flags from different schools. Iowa State was in this morning. Miami of Florida was in yesterday. A lot of schools that you don't traditionally see on the trail are here. NC State was in yesterday. So I think the NIL era is I'm making new friends. I'm
Right.
shaking new hands for the first time. So I don't know if that's a good sign for the Buckeyes because if they're coming after the second-tier player.
Exactly.
Then I think that's what you are alluding to in regards to Ohio State is, boy, there's a lot of guys chomping at that bit right now, and we're going to probably be talking about it the next couple of months.
All right, Mark, I'm going to let you go. Be safe and enjoy the day. Let's see if we can get through the day without a major automobile calamity. Because I'm not kidding. Seeing an 18-wheeler go by you in live, it was scary. So I need you to be safer so we can continue to do this. Keep up the good work, my friend.
You guys are in the car with me. It's all good.
We feel it. I got a little car sick there. I'm not going to lie. There's probably some people that can't watch that. I have a child who, if they watch that, we'd be pulling over, getting barf bags out. All right, Garrick, your thoughts on Mark's sojourn so far and his comment that the second tier, as you have pointed out to everybody in print recently, that is I should think we should only be focused in on maybe 8 to 10 guys in Ohio that we really like, and the rest, it's going to take some extenuating circumstances.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, but at the same time, you also have to expand your board because in the era that we're in, because if you don't get them on the first try, you damn well may get them on the second or the third time, as we've seen in past transfer portal cycles.
But that you mean like the Ohio Mulligan program,
correct,
like the
correct,
Max Clairs of the world. Good point.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, high school recruiting paves the way for the Ohio Mulligan program.
Sure.
And sometimes it even doesn't. Like, it's not like Ohio State was recruiting a Will Kasmerick back when he was in high school, right? But, to Mark's point, a lot of colleges, not necessarily Ohio State, but I'll give you an example in conference. UCLA right now is killing it on the recruiting trail, and by killing it, they are – I don't want to say in a rush, but they're making an effort to sign or at least get guys committed in their class as much as they can right now before official visit season happens. There are some colleges that are trying to jump the market, if you will, because a lot of what's happening is a lot of colleges are making their evaluations during the spring cycle because – there's showcases happening in Ohio, of course, but there's also showcases happening in Georgia and Texas and Florida and California. So Ohio State staff and every other college staff is wearing where's Waldo is happening all over the country right now. And official visits are going to start happening for Ohio State in the next couple of weeks. They're already happening at some schools. Like some schools had some in April. Some schools are having some in mid-May. Ohio State doesn't typically do official visit seasons until late May and then first couple weeks of June, and they're not going to change that at least this year. But there are some colleges that are trying to jump the market and get guys to commit and in their class ahead of official visit seasons because, like Mark's kind of pointing out, they don't want other guys to take a look at them and get other evaluations in them and go, oh, wait, maybe, we've talked about the big board extensively on this show. Maybe that tier 3 guy that we were evaluating is really more of a top end tier 2 guy, and we should treat him as such in our modern recruiting evaluations. So, yeah, Mark has have been talking with him a little bit and just befuddled by how many coaching staffs from all across the country are coming to scout Ohio in May and not necessarily other parts of the year. It didn't used to be that way, but I think there is something to that maybe some colleges like Florida, for example, that he said he saw a coach in there are trying to evaluate some prospects of, hey, can we jump the market for a player like this? But one guy, and we'll talk more about this on the Thursday show, that I'm interested to hear Mark on is could give you an example of a guy that Ohio State could offer eventually that's going to be in that tier 3 category is a guy like Damian King from Westerville North. He's a 6'3", 230-pound edge rusher. Doesn't have a Power 4 offer to his name right now, but his measurables certainly seem like he's going to get some in the summer. Larry Johnson just visited him yesterday, and he's visited Ohio State multiple times. So that's a guy that is definitely going to have to be probably come to camp and prove that you deserve the offer. And he's not going to break the bank to get a guy like that doesn't have Power 4 offers. So we talked about changes in recruiting. That's maybe the developmental type 3 prospect that Ohio State's going to have to round out the class. The measurables are great at 6'3", 230 pounds, probably a little bit more on the raw side physically and technique wise, but I'm more curious to hear if Mark's what his evaluation of him is at this point, because like you said, right now Ohio State is visiting Damian King and they know what they might have, but maybe some other schools see him in the next couple of weeks and the offers start flying. You just got to really trust your evaluations. You got to prioritize. And like we said, Dan, 10 to 15 top guys in Ohio to evaluate. You're not going to get all of them, but build the connections there, and you might get them in year 2 if things work out.
I know there are people who don't like the fact that I bring up some of the same stuff all the time, but here's what I'm thinking about when we talk about this. Damian King's name might as well be BP Miller at this point. So BP Miller, Pevin Miller, for everyone who remembers, came to Ohio State as like a project wide receiver and left after a year. Put it this way. Do you remember all the highlights of BP Miller last year as a freshman?
No.
There weren't any.
No.
I don't know if I saw him even on the sideline.
I remember the highlights of him at the recruiting camp, but certainly not on the
that's about it.
Yep.
So he comes to Ohio State for a year as a project. I mean, the other interest he had was not necessarily Power 4 pick of the litters. He transferred to Washington. That is a big-time football school that just had a wide receiver, I think, go to the Browns in the second round. So he's not transferring to Bowling Green. No offense. Literally, no offense. That is hard. That is not how it used to be. So I don't know if this is good or bad for Ohio State yet. I almost have to reserve judgment here. I think Garrick brings up the best point in that Will Kazmarek was drafted, I believe, in the 3rd round.
Yep, 3rd round.
He would not have gotten drafted in the 3rd round out of Ohio U. So that always will work in Ohio State's favor. I call it the Ohio Mulligan program. It's basically guys you didn't recruit out of high school. Like Max Clare was not an Ohio State recruit. They went for Joe Royer instead. That once they get out there, you can then go back and look. I mean, Mark, I'll show you that. We'll show you some. Mark has every Division I guy detailed forever. We can take that list now and literally project out 2 or 3 years apiece and just say, who do they, some guys grow. So that's really interesting, because I can tell you this. I've seen the Centerville day. I've not seen it look like that. There literally was a 5 to 10 second panoramic view of like all different coaches from big time schools. So that's going to be definitely something to watch going forward. All right, here's what I want to talk about. You had a great story last week about all of the visits these guys have been on and who they are going after. One thing that should be even more obvious in recruiting now is if a coach makes a specific effort to come see you personally, that may mean more than it used to, because that used to be the way you recruited. Now you need to send ahead your It's more like buying a car. You got a middleman here, and you got to have the cost put in. So what's really interesting is if they are going to specifically visit guys and putting out their time and effort when really that's almost going over the top, I think they've clearly delineated to us who they really want. So leading to that, why don't you tell us of that story? You don't want to give away the whole thing because it was premium, but kind of the key guys you think they went after, guys that you think they're going to be in it with for the long haul.
Well, let's start with two that aren't even in the article. We'll do that. They're more recent. Dan, if you think sending one guy to recruit is sending the house, what would you call sending the entire offensive staff to a school of one guy?
I would say that person is going to be financially independent at 18. They're going to go to visit.
Well, I'm going to give you one guess. You probably only need that. Do you know the player in the 2027 recruiting cycle that Ohio State sent the house for yesterday with the entire offensive staff?
I could guess, but I don't want to be wrong. Is he a current War Daddy article feature?
Yes, he is.
Okay. DGG?
Yes. David Gabriel Georges had the entire Ohio State offensive coaching staff visit him at his school yesterday. Not just the running backs coach, Carlos Lachlan, not just Carlos Lachlan, Cortez Hankton, Tyler Bowen, Billy Fessel, even Arthur Smith, the guy who was not specifically brought in here to recruit. Ryan Day said he's not really going to recruit, with the exception of, talking to prospects when they're on visits in Columbus, is recruiting right now. So if you are, I know you all believe us at this point, but if you're not sold on David Gabriel Georges, that he is priority 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 for Ohio State at this point. They just told you by sending the entire offensive coaching staff to go talk to him yesterday. He didn't visit anywhere in the spring. He actually had a very business-like approach to it, said that he's not going anywhere. He doesn't want to miss his spring practice for high schools, doesn't want to get caught up in the recruiting. And based on his talent level and the schools that are recruiting him, like Dan said, he's going to be a financially independent young man at 18 years old anyway. So spring visits aren't really needed at this point. But I continue to believe that this is a two-horse race between Ohio State and Tennessee. I know Ole Miss and Georgia are going to get official visits. Apparently, from what I understand, at the network at 247 Sports, the commitment date is set for July 22nd. Ohio State would love it if you would shut things down before then, specifically right after that official visit, because they're going to be the first one to get them on campus on May 29th, I believe. But he maintains that he's going to take all his visits and then make a final decision July 22nd. So we'll see. Things can change. Maybe that visit goes so well that he ends up shutting things down, and Ohio State's certainly going to try because, they don't want him to go to Tennessee and have them get a full-on recruiting pitch too. But I would expect that it does go out to the 22nd, and I still like where Ohio State sits right now. They would be my prediction if I had to pick right now. Obviously, we're going to get a lot of twists and turns over the next couple of weeks before that recruitment plays out. But then, I'll just say it again. They sent the entire offensive coaching staff to go check out David Gabriel Georges. And apparently now the source for this is David Gabriel Georges, but he just ran a laser 4.38 40-yard dash at his size. So the comparison I've heard for him is a big Jahmyr Gibbs. So that's kind of where we're at on that front.
It is interesting too that, and I was not trying to set you up that by the idea of going to visit someone and then sending everyone. But as far as this recruitment goes, a couple of things you look at. One, he goes to boarding school in Tennessee. He's Canadian. So this, I don't know if that has anything to do with his recruitment. He's taking this very by the book. There doesn't feel, yes, there's teams that have emerged as kind of the leaders, but this is going to be a fair shot. He's going to get to make a real decision on where he wants to go and be very wealthy. But he's handled it, I would say, almost in a traditional way, the old school way of being recruited, and that he's gotten recruited, picked out his school, is going to take his visits and make a decision. It's a crazily normal routine for our guy.
So the second guy I wanted to talk about that's not in the article, and then we can get into the article a little bit, is a young man by the name of Torian Rollins. And Torian Rollins is a 6 foot, 175 pound wide receiver from Atlanta, Georgia. He is a 3-star recruit, rated the number 53 wide receiver in 247 Sports' 2027 recruiting class. Now, I know that may make some people do a shoulder shrug and go, well, who knows? But here's what you need to know about him. He's an in-state prospect, and Georgia wants him. It's kind of like if he's an in-state prospect for Ohio and Ohio State wants him, that's usually a good indicator that, well, maybe this guy's going to be a late riser in the recruiting rankings, right? So Cortez Hankton, after he naturally saw David Gabriel George's, attended a workout that Rollins did in Georgia. And also he went in home with him on the same night and then eventually offered him. So he has said he told Dogs 247 yesterday that if Ohio State offered, of course they hadn't offered at this point. And this was, the Georgia version of what Mark is doing, like seeing all these kind of showcases going on right now. But yeah, he said if Ohio State offers, that would be a game changer in his recruitment. I'm supposed to talk with him a couple hours after we get off this show, so I'll have more of an update for you guys on Bucknuts hopefully here today. But he said that would be a game changer. He already has an official visit scheduled with Georgia on May 29th. They've been kind of leading the way with him. But his eyes just kind of lit up when talking about Ohio State, because that's what the Brian Hartlines of the past have done with sending 5 straight first-round draft pick years of wide receivers to the NFL draft. It is wide receiver U. There's no debate anymore of which school produces the best wide receivers. We're talking big board. He's definitely a day 3 developmental type player. The little bit I looked at him yesterday, he plays for a very small private school, like Class 1A in Georgia. So he's not, playing the Buford high schools of the world. But still, the guy gets after it. The guy's a playmaker, and the guy tortures everyone he faces. So speed translates no matter where you go, right? So
Ohio State's success in Georgia, too, has been well documented.
Ohio State's just been killing it in Georgia in the past couple of recruiting cycles. It's kind of amazing, but
it is. I wonder if getting Caleb Downs wasn't the difference between Ohio State winning the national title and Georgia winning the national title. It might actually be that simple. But thanks, Caleb. And by the way, who's he play for now? I digress. Go ahead.
Yeah. We almost went a week without bringing it up. Okay.
It will never happen again.
Yeah. All right. This is another guy I want to get your take on, Dan Rubin, and maybe just the situation in general. So a week ago today, Billy Fessler was in Massachusetts to watch 2027 quarterback Peter Bork. And he was there to watch Peter Bork work out. Obviously, we've talked about wonderful moms before in the past. He is off the board. He's committed to Notre Dame because Ohio State wants a second quarterback in their 2027 recruiting class. Peter Bork is a top 100 prospect nationally. He's going to be in the Elite 11 like Brady Edmonds, Ohio State's quarterback committed to the 2027 class. And frankly, Georgia, Penn State, Virginia Tech are all in strong pursuit of Peter Bork. Ohio State's thinking about making a run at him. I know Auburn's also thinking about making a late run here. I don't think to this point either school has offered. I know Ohio State hasn't. I'm not positive on Auburn quite yet, but he's definitely got a talent. I'm looking forward to watching both in the Elite 11, which obviously is, I think, the premier event for all quarterbacks throughout the country. Dan, what do you just make of the whole, number one, interest in wonderful minds and now Peter Bork, and number two, the mindset of, do you take 2 quarterbacks to have a good room? Because I outlined it like this in a previous article. If everything goes according to plan for Ohio State this year, Julian Sain's off to the NFL. Tavian St. Clair is your de facto should-be starter in 2027. Luke Fahey has a year
28 and 28.
Yep, hopefully. But there's always the risk that Tavian St. Clair
if we're building the future theory on where to slot guys in, Julian for 2 years as a starter, he's out. Tavian 2 years for a starter.
Correct. Although if he plays awesome, he may be NFL bound, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, Luke Fahey, especially with how physically gifted Tavian is too. Anyway,
there's no question he has what it takes to make everyone go gaga.
Anyway, Luke Fahey is obviously not that and physically, but he's going to be a year into the system. But at least from a recruiting profile standpoint, not the guy that would usually threaten a top 100 prospect. And then that should be about it. You could get Justin Martin back for a year if he gets a waiver. If this 5th year of eligibility thing passes, he's going to be one of those guys that's probably going to get it by default from what it sounds like. But obviously there's a whole lot of stuff that needs to be worked out there with the grandfather stuff. Mm-hmm. But even if Justin Martin does come back, I mean, I don't know, number one, if Ohio State wants him back, and number two, if Ohio State does want him back, does he want to come back? Because it's going to be his last year, and I mean, you would think that he'd want to give himself a shot to play it somewhere. Anyhow, so ideally, if everything works out, you're coming in with two scholarship quarterbacks next year. One that is your presumed starter, and another guy that if he had to play, well, maybe it would work out, but you're not sure. Or do you want to bring in two highly touted prospects like a Brady Edmonds and like a Peter Bork that both have good upside and that you give yourself essentially a higher floor in that room if everything goes wary in 2027?
I hate to bring this up again, but this is also, you need to take into account, this is now a financial decision. And quarterbacks set the market in terms of cost for the most part. So if you're going to bring in two highly recruited guys, you have to make the decision to pay both of them. Not that that bothers me. That wouldn't keep me from doing it. It's just something you got to consider. And they are going to have a couple, if that projection we just did goes according to plan, and I believe it will, you're going to have the quarterback and the wide receiver come off the books and start getting paid by the NFL, but they're going to leave a decent financial hole behind them, or not a hole. They're going to leave their cash behind them so that can be distributed elsewhere. So I don't know if that's a huge deal there. I think the money for Ohio State in football really hasn't been the issue.
All right.
We can talk about basketball. No, listen, I would try and take two, but I don't see that happening for this reason. Quarterback now, we talked about this. Three years ago, more than half the starters in college football were transfers. And transferring as a quarterback is not held against you. Joe Burrow was picked number 1 overall. Francisco Mendoza was picked number 1 overall, and he transferred. Personally, I don't like the idea of a quarterback transferring for a variety of reasons. We can go into that. Truthfully, I think I would like to build a team in the NFL with no transfers. How about that? Except for extenuating circumstances like Caleb Downs, but I digress. I don't think they're going to get the opportunity to pay both. I still don't see two guys of super high profile guys, and Brady Edmonds would count for that. Wonderful Mons would count for that. Peter Bork certainly counts for that now, going to the same spot. I wouldn't mind paying them if I'm the team. I just don't think that's going to be something that happens. What's interesting that I learned this about quarterbacks and reclassification in general. So reclassification, Wonderful Mons is a reclass. What that means is he's moved back. Usually what happens is these kids get held back when they're younger, right? And then when they get older, they catch up to everybody, or they're still ahead, and they decide, you know what, I don't need that year. I'm going to go to the league, go to college. So I can get to the league a year earlier. What I learned, and reclassification has been going on for about, I think, 8 to 10 years. Since reclassification started, can you name the number of first-round draft picks that have reclassified? One.
Yeah, I was about to say not many.
There's only one that's been a first-round draft pick, Sonny Styles. I did not know that. That was very interesting to me. That would make me very hesitant now to take a reclass, especially when no one's clock is ticking like it used to. There's no hourglass anymore. You can just flip it over. You're going to get an extra year anyway, probably now. The idea of getting a quarterback down the road isn't an issue. So that really, I find that very interesting. So Peter Bork is kind of like the late rising quarterback who wasn't committed, and that makes everyone go nuts. We'd heard about him from some sources, and then Andrew Ivins talked about him. I believe he's a little bit older than the average guy in the class, too. In that respect, it may be an advantage for him getting off the ground early. But quarterback is so fluid now. I think there was a time in the past where you would say, Ohio State hadn't shown interest yet. All those other people had shown interest. He's not going to go for that. Those days are done. If you can come with the money and come from Ohio State, I still think you could come in the day before he commits and maybe get somebody. So I do think the Brady Edmonds situation is one to watch. Normally when we get this much smoke, something does happen. So I'm not at all as confident as I was he would end up in the class. That said,
Yeah,
I'm very confident they'll end up with a good quarterback in the class. So I don't think it's necessary. I don't think they would risk this without the idea they knew what they were doing. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. There's a very strong possibility that if you do indeed try to push for 2 quarterbacks, you end up with 1. I mean, you're going to get a good quarterback regardless, whether it's Brady or whether it's a Peter Bork or whether it's somebody else down the line that they like. They've gotten good quarterbacks before with like a Devin Brown and a Lincoln Keenholz, even though they neither ended up, being a star at Ohio State, although Lincoln might be a star at Louisville. We'll see. But I think they're going to get a great quarterback prospect that they're going to feel good about either way. We talked about UCLA making a big run. I mean, they're making a big run at Brady Edmonds too. So if I think they're up to like 14 or 15 commits now, and they're in the top 7 in the nationally recruiting rankings. And granted, bragging about your recruiting ranking in May is
UCLA.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
what's
worth
happening. The Big Ten paid out over $1 billion to its team.
Mm-hmm.
You want to know why UCLA is willing to get on the plane so much? This is your reason now. They can now actually go in there and compete and pay out the money they need. I mean, like you said, UCLA is not a quality football program right now, in name only. I mean, we grew up with them being good, but they have not been a good football team in how long?
Well, perception matters a lot too. And if you can, I say send a message in air quotes here because everyone kind of knows the situation at Ohio State, right? But if you can, let's say, make a big offer to a guy like a Brady Edmonds, and the message will be construed as steal him from Ohio State and get him in your class. And we kept a kid that's that highly touted, an Elite 11 invite home, like on top of the already momentum that you're doing for UCLA. I mean, that would be a tremendous win for the Bruins and building some momentum for them going forward. Now, I want to hedge a little bit here. Kind of what Dan said, I'm not as confident as Brady Edmonds being in the class as I used to be. That doesn't mean I'm, putting him on flip watch tomorrow or anything like that. It's gone from there is nothing in the world I could see that would make Brady Edmonds back off his Ohio State commitment to, well, instead of 99% sure, now I'm only like 89% sure that he sticks at Ohio State going forward. That's how I would kind of classify it. I'm not putting him on flip watch tomorrow or anything crazy like that. The guy's been as loyal as you can be throughout the modern recruiting process and has been as charismatic of a pure recruiter and a leader that you could ask for. And ultimately, if he does go somewhere else, he is probably one of the best guys to root for that's ever flipped for Ohio State, if that situation ever happens. Again, I'm still skeptical at this point that it gets to that point, but if it does, I mean, Brady is going to be great no matter where he goes. But
keep in mind, he did qualify for the Elite 11 final, so he's going to get the chance to go out there and show off. I'd be real surprised if there's movement from a commitment standpoint, yay or nay, before that event, because the last thing you would want to do is part ways with someone and then have him go into Elite 11 and tear it up, and you look kind of silly. So let's just give him a chance to go out there and do what he's got to do. We're in a good spot at Ohio State, man. Let's just, it's good to be king in this respect that it is not going to be hard for Ohio State to get a quarterback to come here regardless. The last 2 transfers of any ilk to come here, Will Howard and Justin Fields, they did okay here. They did just fine. So I don't think that would be an issue. I kind of feel the same way about David Gabriel Georges. I think it'd be great to get him. Awesome. But the idea that you can't go out and get a really good running back is not accurate. There are a lot of really good running backs out there. And I don't want to, I mean, the recruitment you're going to have to watch, and we'll end with this because we probably have to do this every time. For a variety of reasons in terms of potential flip is DJ Jacobs. One reason is people love writing about it. Anytime there's a chance to write something on his potential to flip, people are going to write about it. Hello, because everyone wants him and every fan base will read about it. There's stories up now that he's, who could he flip to and stuff like that. The kid has given no indication to anyone, from my knowledge, that he's going to flip. He's not said anything negative about Ohio State. We don't know the details of his agreement with Ohio State, and I air quoted that. So, yes, that is out there, but I would say that story's public appeal may outrank its actual practical application, if that makes any sense. And do you agree?
Yeah, I think we're going to have this exact same conversation 20 more times between now and December. I think we're going to hear DJ Jacobs visits Miami, DJ Jacobs visits Georgia, DJ Jacobs visit anyone that has a pretty nice recruiting budget. And you also have to remember, yes, he's probably taking these visits to do his due diligence, but he also has a younger brother, Dawson, that's going through the recruiting process.
By the way, looks ridiculous too, and I mistook them in
photo. Very good.
Have you done that? Have you mistook them in photos yet? Because I did that.
Yes. Who it looks like a very good defensive line prospect in 2028 in his own right. So DJ's going on these visits to support him too. I'm sure some of it is due diligence for his own self. I'm not trying to say it isn't, but again, Dan, I think if we can just accept the fact that you and I are going to have a very similar conversation at least 20 more times between now and December.
Try 100.
Yeah, all right, 100.
As the fans have chimed in here too. Yep.
We're gonna end. The room will always be split. It will be some people that chime in. How could you not see that he is eventually going to flip? And then others like, why are we making a big deal for the 77th recruiting article we've seen about is DJ Jacobs going to flip? And listen, guys, it's a business at the end of the day, and DJ Jacobs generates clicks because that guy is talented, and there's a reason he's the number one prospect in the country. Because I mean, when you have Mark Porter throwing out Chase Young comparisons to a high school prospect, he doesn't do that lightly with how many players he sees. But get used to this conversation, and it's going to go something like this. Are you ready? DJ Jacobs visited that school. This school is going to do its best to flip it. Can't discount that it might happen. Do I think it's going to happen? No. Does Ohio State feel confident they can retain him? Yes. Are prospects of his caliber very difficult to recruit or to flip in this era? Absolutely. And we're going to reiterate those talking points 20 to 100 more times. Depends on how many times it gets brought up on the show.
All right, I'll finish with this. Andrew Ivins was on the show last Thursday, and we talked about DJ Jacobs. And here's all he said. Everything we're talking about, the hoops, the silliness, the tomfoolery, it's all going to be worth it. This guy is literally, put it this way, I'll say this without any hesitation. DJ Jacobs is a better prospect than anyone we had drafted this past year.
Well, I'll put it this way.
I'm out. Do you agree with that? Okay, just the fact that we can even consider the question makes it something. But I'm telling you,
the only one
that looks like that, Andrew Ivins makes a very big deal about who they rank number one. It's a big deal. It was a big deal when he ranked Jeremiah number one because receivers don't usually go number one in the draft unless we forget 24/7 tries to line up its top 32 as first-round draft picks. First-round draft picks that look like DJ Jacobs, the defensive end werewolf prototype, can be picked before quarterbacks. So you're going to hear the term, this is good. You're going to hear the term generational talent. Okay. Most overused term ever. This draft we have coming up now, I've said this. They talk about, it's a generational draft. There's one generational player in the draft coming up, and he plays for Ohio State, and it makes the whole draft look better. No one can tell me Dante Moore or Arch Manning looks like a generational quarterback. That's not true. Having Jeremiah up there, that gives you a draft like that, okay? The Ohio State players we just sent through were elite of the elite, but none of them played marquee positions. One did, the receiver, and where'd he get picked? So DJ Jacobs is like a Larry Bird rule will have to be put in. There would be people who would draft him now and miss their draft picks. I heard someone say they would have taken Jeremiah Smith with their first-round draft pick last year and let him play this year. So it is worth it, man. Everything we're going through here, and then you add in the fact that he has a younger brother of similar ilk. Come on, man. So
there's only one prospect that just got drafted I could make an argument for, and the only way you can do it, hear me out, is if you value floor more than ceiling, which obviously most evaluators don't. But if you value floor more than ceiling, you could make an argument that Caleb Downs was a better prospect in high school because everyone looked at Caleb as a sophomore in high school and went, that guy's going to play in the NFL for 10 years.
Agreed.
And yeah, like it was the safest prospect where you just – now, if you value ceiling above floor, as most evaluators do, then it's not a question for sure. But if you value floor over ceiling, like I want a guy that I know is going to be a damn good day one. He steps on this campus and he's just ready to go. Then Caleb Downs is probably a better prospect. But honestly, when you know what it is, it's a great problem to have and a great to have.
I still think Caleb might end up being a better safety than Jacobs is a defensive end. But what I'm saying is he's a defensive end. And so people are going to lose their minds over this guy. Believe me, you're not going to have me argue against Caleb. And by the way, if you want to enjoy any Caleb coverage, the Cowboys do their own content out there. There's plenty of people that he just went to the first little camp. The big story of camp, will Kobe Durant give up number 2 for Caleb Downs? He's wearing 18 right now. I think he's going to wear number 2. And by the way, he's as advertised. He's just the greatest. It's just such an awesome thing. I still can't believe they got him. I'm going to probably say this on every show. I cannot believe the Cowboys got Caleb Downs.
He's over the
Sometimes
moon.
I wake up, I'm like, is it even true? The dumbest team ever got the smartest player. I cannot, in all the time I've watched football, literally my whole life, the Cowboys needed Caleb Downs more than any other team needed anybody. They were the dumbest team on defense of all. So it's just so wonderful.
I can neither confirm nor deny that Dan Rubin sends me a text at 9 a.m. sharp every single day and says, Garrick, can you believe that the Cowboys got Caleb Downs at pick 11? We're just kidding. But
the thing is, I hit search on my phone, and I don't even know who I'm sending it to, and I just send it out so I can spread the wealth.
Let's quick point on DJ Jacobs, and then we can get out of here. It'll be really quick. I put it in writing, and when the Jeremiah Smith saga was happening, when he visited a school every other week, and Florida State and Miami in particular were making a huge push for him at the end of his recruitment. When Ohio State ultimately won the recruitment and the dust settled, and some fans admittedly had a little Jeremiah Smith recruitment fatigue, which of course is understandable because you heard every other day that Jeremiah Smith's going to flip. It's only a matter of time, right? The biggest message I can take away is that if DJ Jacobs sign, is anyone going to care about how stressful his recruitment was when he's having 12 sacks a year in Columbus?
Also, that's just part of the deal now.
Is anyone going to care how stressful Jeremiah Smith's recruitment was when he's catching touchdowns in the north end zone at Ohio Stadium?
I don't know if you remember this, Garrick. People took something we said on the pod about Jeremiah Smith during the recruitment and twisted around to make it seem like we were nefarious. I actually talked to Jeremiah about that, and he said, look, it was insane. He's like, even he said it got crazier than he even thought. So be it. I cannot buy a jersey yet. I already made that clear because we do not know what number he will be wearing. I think he's going to have to pay Kobe Durant to get number 2. But number 2 in your program, number 1 in your hearts, Caleb Downs. Appreciate Garrick for the effort. Have a good one. Nutters of Buck.